Welcome back to The Deep Dive, the show where we, really try to cut through the noise and get straight to the impactful, real-world developments shaping our future.
Glad to be here.
So, over the past few weeks, we've been noticing something interesting. The IOTA Foundation, they've been quietly, almost stealthily, turning heads.
Yeah, no big splashy announcements, no real hype cycles, which is kind of refreshing, actually.
Exactly, just these steady, confident steps. And behind the scenes, you start to see these real-world projects taking shape on the IOTA network, things that are gradually reshaping industries that, frankly, once seemed totally out of reach for the crypto space.
It's a different approach, focusing on the build rather than the buzz.
Precisely. So today we're diving into 3 of those projects. We think each one marks a clear before and after moment, showing how this tech, distributed ledger technology is finally stepping out of the theory books and into our everyday world.
3 distinct projects, all leveraging IOTA in interesting ways.
3 real-world bets, you could say. And they really signal that IOTA has entered a new era, and the best part, we think this is just the beginning. So we're going to give you, our listeners, a shortcut to understanding what's going on and why it matters.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's kick things off with the first one. DeFa. The promise here is the kind of DeFi that actually works in the real world. So what does that really mean? What's the core problem DeFi is trying to solve here?
Well, it really zeroes in on a massive pain point, especially for small and medium-sized businesses.
Right, okay. Tell me more.
Imagine you run a small business, maybe a creative agency or a local contract or something like that. You do great work, you deliver the project, you send out the invoice, and then you wait.
The waiting game. I know it well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're stuck waiting maybe 30 days, often 60, sometimes even 90 days or more, for that payment to actually hit your bank account.
And in the meantime, you've got bills to pay, right? Payroll, suppliers, rent.
Precisely. How do you manage your cash flow? How do you keep things running smoothly when a big chunk of your money is tied up in those outstanding invoices? It's not just annoying. It could be crippling.
Yeah, it's a constant liquidity crunch for so many businesses. It really stifles growth, creates a ton of stress.
That's the core problem DeFi tackles head on. It uses technology to bridge that gap between doing the work and getting paid.
Okay, so how does it actually do that? What's the mechanism?
What's really fascinating is how it blends traditional finance concepts with decentralized tech. At its heart, DeFi lets you take that pending invoice, which is just a promise of future payment, right? A piece of paper or a PDF.
Yeah, just sitting there.
And it transforms it almost instantly into a tangible, usable digital asset. This happens through tokenization.
Tokenization. Okay,
Yeah.
so you turn the invoice into a token on a ledger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just a digital copy. It becomes a backed and validated token. This token represents a verifiable liquid claim to that future payment.
Liquid meaning I can sell it or use it somehow.
Precisely. You can immediately sell that token, trade it, or use it as collateral to get cash now. So no more waiting those agonizing 60 days. You unlock that capital almost instantly.
Wow, okay. That turns a future promise into actual working capital today. That's huge for cash flow.
It's a game changer for liquidity. But the real innovation, I think, goes a step further. It's not just about tokenizing. It's about verifying.
Verifying what? The invoice itself?
Yes, verifying the invoice's authenticity, and crucially, verifying the likelihood that the invoice will actually get paid. This is absolutely critical if you want real-world adoption, especially from more cautious investors.
Right, because just having a token isn't enough if the underlying invoice is shaky or the client is known for late payments.
Exactly, and that's where DeFi's Know Your Invoice or KYI system comes in. It's like KYC for banks, but for invoices.
KYI, okay, so what does that involve?
It's essentially an automated due diligence process. Before an invoice gets tokenized and offered up, the KYI system runs checks. It confirms the invoice is legit, that the work was done, that it hasn't been faked or duplicated.
Makes sense. Standard checks.
But it also assesses the payer. It looks at the creditworthiness, the payment history, the reliability of the client who owes the money. Maybe using public data, maybe historical data within the DeFi system itself.
So it builds a trust score, effectively.
In a way, yes. It builds this foundation of trust. It makes the tokenized invoice not just a digital claim, but a validated, trustworthy financial instrument that investors can actually feel comfortable buying.
That's a really powerful distinction. It's moving beyond just digitizing paper. It's adding a layer of verification and trust.
Precisely. And that addresses a huge hurdle for bringing DeFi into the real business world.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it leads nicely into something else DeFa offers. For many small business owners, they're experts in their field, but maybe not financial gurus. Diving into complex financial options can be intimidating. DeFa seems to tackle this with AI assistance. Tell us about Forso and DROC.
Yeah, this is another really clever piece of the puzzle. Verania and DROC are designed to make sophisticated financial decision-making much easier and more accessible, especially for those smaller players who don't have, a CFO on staff.
So they act like guides.
Sort of. Think of Verania as your personal AI investment analyst within the DeFa system. Let's say you've tokenized your invoice and you want to sell it to get cash quickly.
Right.
Foron analyzes the different investment pools available in DeFa, looks at current market conditions, considers your risk appetite maybe, and then recommends the best options for you.
So it helps you choose where to sell your invoice token for the best outcome.
Exactly. It crunches the numbers, presents the best strategies, saves you hours of guesswork, and potentially prevents costly mistakes.
Okay, that's Kiorse. What about DROC?
DROC focuses more on the trust aspect, but from the investor side. If you're thinking about buying these tokenized invoices as an investment,
Right, putting capital into the pools.
DRC performs that automated due diligence on the original company that issued the invoice, the one whose payment history matters. It checks their track record, their reputation, giving the investor a clear signal about how reliable that issuer is.
So ATRA helps the business selling the invoice, and DROC helps the investor buying it.
You got it. This twin AI approach means you don't need to be a financial whiz to participate safely and effectively. It's genuinely like having your own automated financial advisor working for free, 24/7.
That dramatically lowers the barrier to entry, doesn't it? Makes DeFi feel less scary.
Absolutely. It democratizes access to these tools, making them useful for everyone, not just the big corporations.
Okay, that sounds incredibly helpful for the businesses. Now let's flip the coin. What about the investors? The crypto world is infamous for projects promising crazy, unsustainable returns. It makes sensible investors wary. How does DeFa approach this? It seems more grounded.
That's a really important point. How do you attract serious capital without resorting to unrealistic hype? DeFa tackles this directly by being transparent about risk and grounding returns in real economic activity.
How so?
Well, first, the investment pools themselves are structured with different, clearly defined risk levels. You're not just throwing money into a black box. And the returns are tied to the actual payment of real-world verified invoices, not some speculative tokenomics. That immediately makes it feel more tangible and sustainable.
So different pools for different risk appetites, like conservative options versus maybe slightly higher potential return but higher risk?
Exactly. But the real key, especially for attracting more conservative capital, is the insurance mechanism.
Insurance. How does that work in DeFi?
For the lower risk investment options within DeFi, they offer insurance coverage for up to 90% of the invested capital.
90%? That's significant. Is that backed by crypto reserves or?
This is the crucial part. They explicitly state this coverage system is backed by real banks.
Wow, okay. Real banks involved. That's a major bridge to traditional finance confidence.
It really is. That connection to established, regulated institutions provides a layer of security and credibility that's often missing in DeFi. It massively reduces the risk for investors focused on capital preservation.
That makes it appealing to a much broader audience, including traditional investors who might normally steer clear of crypto altogether.
Definitely. And there's another feature designed for investors, the DLP token.
DLP, what's that?
It stands for DeFi Liquidity Participation Token, I believe. Basically, when you invest in a pool and the underlying invoice gets paid, you don't just get cash back immediately. You often get this DLP token.
Okay, so what can I do with this DLP token?
It's designed to keep your capital working efficiently. You can actually use the DLP token itself to get liquidity right away, even before the final payout, if you need cash for something else.
So it's like a claim I can trade or borrow against.
Sort of, yes. It gives you flexibility. Or you prefer a hands-off approach. The system can automatically reinvest that DLP for you into new invoice pools, compounding your returns over time.
So my money is never just sitting idle. It's always working.
That's the idea. Maximize capital efficiency, whether you need quick access or want automated reinvestment. It's quite sophisticated.
It really sounds like it. But here's the million-dollar question for so many fintech innovations. Getting traction with the old guard, the established financial institutions. You mentioned banks backing the insurance, but is DeFi actually working with banks in other ways? because that's often the toughest nut to crack.
And that's arguably the most groundbreaking aspect right now.
Yeah.
The fact that traditional banks are already showing concrete interest and partnering with DeFa is huge.
Really? Like who?
There's a significant agreement with ADIB, the Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank. That's a major, respected bank in the UAE.
Okay, ADIB. What are they doing with DeFa?
They've partnered to use DeFa's underlying technology to finance rent payments using stablecoins.
Rent payments, wow. That's not some niche crypto thing. That's a core, everyday financial transaction for millions.
Exactly. It's not a theoretical pilot. It's a live, real-world application. A traditional bank using decentralized rails and digital currency, facilitated by DeFa, to handle something as fundamental as financing rent.
That's massive validation, isn't it? It shows DeFa can meet the security, reliability, and regulatory demands of a traditional bank and handle high volume.
A powerful proof point. And it connects directly to the bigger picture, this tangible integration of DeFi with conventional systems.
And DeFa is already running on several networks, right? Not just IOTA yet.
That's right. It's already live and processing transactions on other chains, proving its robustness. But the strategic move is the upcoming integration directly with IOTA.
Why is that specific move so important?
Because of IOTA's Tangle architecture. As we'll discuss more, it allows for much faster transactions and, critically, much lower fees, often near zero.
Ah, the fee thing again. Crucial for finance.
Absolutely. Lower fees mean better rates for businesses needing cash, potentially better returns for investors because overhead is minimal. Faster settlement means capital moves more quickly, just makes the whole system more efficient and scalable.
So moving to IOTA makes DeFa even better, faster, cheaper, more accessible.
That's the goal. It leverages IOTA's strength to take this already working model and optimize it for mass adoption.
Okay, so summing up DeFa, this isn't just another speculative DeFi protocol, is it? It really feels like a practical, secure tool built to solve a genuine, widespread problem for businesses.
I think that's fair to say.
And the fact that it's already live, already partnering with banks, it feels like the kind of innovation that could seriously challenge traditional invoice financing because it's potentially fairer, faster, and more efficient.
It sets a high bar for DeFi with real-world impact.
All right, let's pivot. Our second game changer, the Virtue stablecoin, or VUSD. Now, stablecoins. The crypto world is full of them. We all know USDC, USDT, DAI. They aim for stability against fiat, usually the US dollar. So, what makes VUSD, which just launched on IOTA, supposedly so disruptive? Why should we pay attention to another stablecoin?
It's a fair question. The space is crowded. But VUSD isn't just a copycat. It's built differently, leveraging IoT's unique features to offer advantages that other stablecoins struggle with.
Okay, so it claims to be a disruptive alternative. Let's break that down. What are the key things that make VUSD stand out from the crowd?
There are several key differentiators, really rooted in how it works on IOTA.
Let's hear them.
First, and this is a big one, near zero fees, or potentially no fees at all.
Okay, zero fees for moving stablecoins. That sounds almost too good to be true compared to, say, Ethereum gas fees.
Yeah, it goes back to IOTA's Tangle. Unlike blockchains needing miners or validators who charge for processing, the Tangle structure means transactions can be processed without inherent network fees. The protocol itself, or third parties, can sponsor the minimal computational cost.
So sending VUSD from one wallet to another could literally cost nothing.
It could, yes, or be incredibly cheap. This is a fundamental shift.
And the implication of that is?
Huge.
Right, massive. Think about micropayments, things that are totally impractical on other networks because the fee would be more than the transaction value.
Like paying fractions of a cent for data or for API calls.
Exactly. Or IoT automation. Imagine smart devices making tiny, frequent payments automatically. A smart meter paying for electricity by the second. A vending machine paying for its own resupply.
Machine-to-machine economies. Stuff that's been talked about for years, but hindered by costs.
Precisely. VUSD on IOTA cracks that door wide open. Billions of tiny transactions become economically feasible. It enables a whole new layer of automated economic activity.
Okay, zero fees is a powerful start.
Right. Wait.
Second, more efficient collateralization. VUSD only requires 110% backing.
110%. How does that compare? I know things like DAI often require 150% or sometimes even more, right?
Exactly. DAI needs significant over-collateralization. LUSD, another decentralized stablecoin, often demands even higher ratios, requiring only 110% backing using IOTA and STIOTA, which is staked IOTA.
Staked IOTA meaning IoT locked up to support the network, kind of earning yield.
Yes, essentially. So needing only 110% means users have much better capital efficiency. You don't have to lock up as much value to mint the same amount of stablecoin.
So more of your capital stays free for other uses.
Correct. It's less restrictive, more flexible, while still aiming for robust stability. It reduces the opportunity cost.
Interesting. Okay, what's the third point?
Third, VUSD is designed to be fully decentralized from day one.
How does that contrast with, say, USDC or USDT?
Well, USDC is issued and managed by Circle, a single company. USDT is managed by Tether. They are centralized entities. This raises potential concerns about censorship, transparency, single points of failure.
Right, the not your keys, not your coins argument, but for stablecoin issuance and control.
Kind of. VUSD, in contrast, is governed by a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. The community of token holders votes on changes, upgrades, parameters.
So no single company calls the shots.
No, it aims for true transparency, censorship resistance. Decisions are made collectively, on-chain. It's a statement of principle aiming for the core ideals of decentralization, which many users value highly.
Okay, that's a clear political and structural difference. What's next?
Fourth, it's a native Layer 1 stablecoin.
Layer 1 meaning it's built directly onto the base IOTA network.
Exactly. It doesn't need a separate Layer 2 protocol built on top, or external bridges to other chains or side chains to achieve its speed and low fees.
And why is that an advantage? Less complexity.
Less complexity, yes. But also potentially better security bridges between networks can sometimes be vulnerable points, and less friction. It's inherently scalable and secure because it leverages the base layer directly. Developers can just plug it into their dApps on IOTA without extra hoops.
Simpler integration, more robust. Makes sense. Is there a fifth point?
Yes, and it ties back to the first point. It's IoT native design.
Because IOTA itself is designed for the Internet of Things.
Precisely. Because VUSD runs on IOTA's feeless architecture, it's perfectly suited for those high-volume, low-value machine-to-machine payments we talked about. Autonomous devices transacting seamlessly.
So it's not just capable of microtransactions, it's designed with that future automated economy in mind.
Absolutely. No other Layer 1 stablecoin seems to have positioned itself so clearly and effectively for that specific, massive future market without compromising on decentralization or efficiency.
That's a compelling set of advantages. So bringing it all together, what does VUSD mean for the bigger picture, for the broader economy? It's clearly not just another stablecoin then?
No, definitely not. VUSD feels like a very deliberate response, technically, politically, and economically, to the limitations we've seen in other stablecoins.
How so?
Technically, it uses IOTA for cost and scale advantages that enable use cases others can't touch. Politically, its DAO governance offers a truly decentralized alternative to corporate-controlled stablecoins. Economically, its efficient collateralization frees up capital.
So it's trying to set a new standard.
I think it is. By combining that feeless infrastructure, community governance, capital efficiency, and that specific focus on IoT and automation, it really sets a new benchmark for what digital money can be.
Not just for crypto trading, but for real integration into global commerce, machine economies, everyday stuff.
That seems to be the ambition, to be a foundational digital currency that's utility-driven, scalable, and resilient enough for the future, both in crypto and beyond.
Okay, fascinating. Let's move to our third project, which takes us out of pure finance and into the physical world. ObjectID.io. This one tackles authenticity. Imagine if everything you bought, wine, shoes, car parts, medicine, had a secure digital ID. That's what ObjectID.io aims to build on IOTA.
Yes, tackling the massive global problem of counterfeit goods.
It's huge, right? Fake luxury items, dodgy pharmaceuticals, even critical parts in planes or cars that aren't genuine. It erodes trust, costs billions, and can be downright dangerous. So how does ObjectID.io give products this unforgeable digital passport?
It's a really direct and elegant solution, leveraging IOTA's core properties. Basically, each individual physical product gets assigned a unique code, its Object ID.
Okay, a unique identifier for every single item.
Every single item, potentially. And this unique ID is then recorded immutably on the IOTA ledger.
Immutably meaning once it's there, it can't be changed or deleted.
Exactly. That's the power of the distributed ledger. That record is permanent and tamper-proof. It creates a single, undeniable source of truth for that specific physical item.
So anyone can check that ID later?
Anyone. A consumer, a retailer, customs officials, anyone. They can check the ID against the ledger. If the ID isn't there, or if the details linked to it, like who made it, when, where, don't match the official record,
then it's likely a fake or has been tampered with.
Precisely. It exposes counterfeits or supply chain issues immediately. It brings a level of transparency and trust to physical goods that's been incredibly hard to achieve before.
That sounds incredibly powerful, but hang on. Tracking every single item, even low-cost things, wouldn't the transaction fees on most blockchains make that ridiculously expensive for a company making millions of products?
You've hit on the exact reason why this is feasible on IOTA and maybe not elsewhere. That cost barrier is real.
So how does IOTA solve it?
It comes back, once again, to those near zero or potentially zero fees.
The fee structure is the magic ingredient again.
It absolutely is. Registering an ID, updating its status as it moves through the supply chain, a consumer verifying it at the point of sale on IOTA, these actions can have negligible or even zero cost, especially if the brand or protocol sponsors it.
Whereas on other chains, each of those steps could cost cents, maybe even dollars during peak times.
Exactly. And multiply that by millions or billions of items and millions of interactions, the costs become astronomical, and the whole idea falls apart economically.
But with IoT's structure, it becomes viable to give even relatively low-cost items a unique digital identity without breaking the bank.
Correct. It makes mass adoption financially practical. Brands can ensure authenticity, track products, build trust, meet regulations without killing their margins or making products way more expensive for you, the consumer.
Okay, crucial point. So how does this actually work in practice? If I'm a consumer, how do I use this for anti-counterfeit protection? And what about tracking the product's journey?
It's designed to be super simple. For anti-counterfeiting, you typically scan a QR code or maybe tap an NFC chip on the product or its packaging with your smartphone.
Like I do already for menus or payments?
Just like that. The ObjectID.io app then instantly checks that specific ID against the IOTA ledger. It confirms. Does this ID belong to the official brand? Does its recorded history, when and where it was made, etc., match the legitimate record?
And if it doesn't match?
Red flag. The app tells you it might be counterfeit or there's a discrepancy. It gives you that instant verification right there before you buy or use it.
That's immediate peace of mind. What about tracking its journey?
That's the other powerful aspect. Manufacturers, distributors, logistics partners, they can all log key events onto that item's digital passport on the ledger.
Like, made in factory X on date Y, shipped via carrier Z, received at warehouse B.
Exactly. When and where it was made, who handled it, movements between locations, customs clearance, maybe even ownership changes. All this data travels with the item's digital ID.
And it's all immutable and verifiable on the ledger.
Correct. So anyone with permission, or publicly, if the brand allows, can scan the ID and see that transparent end-to-end history.
That must be amazing for audits, warranty claims, even selling secondhand items. You have proof of provenance.
Absolutely. It makes audits efficient, validates warranties easily, and builds huge trust in secondhand markets because the item's full verified history is right there.
Okay, so who actually controls this digital passport? Can anyone just create one? And how easy is it really for a regular person like me to use this?
Yeah.
Do I need to understand crypto?
Good questions. Control is key. With ObjectID.io, only the official company, the legitimate brand, can create or modify the digital passports for their products.
How is that enforced?
Through digital signatures tied to their verified identity, like their web domain. It prevents counterfeiters or anyone else from just creating fake IDs or messing with the real ones. The brand holds the authority for their product's digital identities.
So the integrity is maintained by the brand's control.
Yes. And for you, the end user, it's designed to be incredibly simple. You absolutely do not need to understand blockchain or DLT or have a crypto wallet. You just scan, use your phone's camera on the QR code, or tap the NFC chip. The app does the work behind the scenes, checks the ledger, and shows you the verified info in a simple, understandable way. Authenticity.check. History. Here it is.
Easy peasy, that's crucial for adoption.
Couldn't agree more. Ease of use is paramount.
So this obviously has applications far beyond crypto speculation. Where do you see the biggest impact for ObjectID in the traditional economy? Which industries really stand to benefit?
Oh, the potential is vast. But I think the most immediate and transformative impact will be in industries where authenticity, traceability, and compliance are absolutely non-negotiable.
Like?
Think fashion and luxury goods. Fighting counterfeits is a constant battle that costs billions and damages brand reputation. ObjectID gives them a simple, low-cost way to prove authenticity directly to the consumer.
Okay, luxury makes sense. What else?
Pharmaceuticals. This is literally life and death.
Yeah.
Tracking every single pill or vaccine goes from factory to patient, ensuring it's genuine, preventing fakes from entering the supply chain, enabling targeted recalls. It's critical for safety and regulation.
Absolutely critical there.
Then there's aerospace and automotive. Think about safety-critical parts, ensuring every component is genuine, tracking its maintenance history immutably that's vital for safety, compliance, and preventing catastrophic failures. Also, think food and beverage for proving origin, tracking allergens, ensuring safety, electronics for warranty claims, and fighting gray markets.
So anywhere where knowing this specific item is real and tracing its journey matters?
Exactly. ObjectID provides that low-cost, secure, and easy-to-use infrastructure for ensuring authenticity, traceability, and compliance across countless traditional industries. It's DLT providing tangible, everyday value.
So in short, ObjectID.io uses IOTA to create this digital backbone for identifying and verifying physical stuff, right? With almost no extra cost burden, but huge benefits for companies and us consumers. It really feels like a direct path for this tech to prove its worth in the real world.
That sums it up well. It connects the digital ledger directly to the physical item in your hand.
Okay, so let's try and connect the dots here. We've looked at DeFa for invoice finance, VUSD as a next-gen stablecoin, and ObjectID for product authenticity. When you put these three side by side, what picture does it paint about IOTA's direction? It really does feel like a quiet transformation, doesn't it?
It really does, and I think looking at them together reveals a very clear, cohesive strategy. These aren't just random, isolated projects.
It's the common thread you see.
The common thread is a relentless focus on real-world utility. Each project tackles a concrete, existing problem business cash flow, efficient digital payments, counterfeit goods. They aren't solutions searching for a problem.
Right, they're addressing actual pain points.
And critically, they all strategically leverage IOTA's unique architecture, particularly the near-zero fee structure and the inherent capabilities for the Internet of Things.
Yeah, the fee aspect came up in all three, didn't it? Enabling DeFi's finance model, making VUSD viable for microtransactions, and allowing ObjectID to track billions of items affordably.
Precisely. That fee structure is a fundamental enabler for these specific use cases at scale. It allows IOTA to target applications that might be economically impossible on other ledgers.
So if you connect this to the bigger picture, it's a move away from pure speculation.
I think so. It shows a clear, deliberate strategy to move beyond speculative assets and towards building foundational infrastructure. They're building the digital rails needed for specific areas of finance, global commerce, supply chains, and the automated economy.
Using DLT not just for tokens, but as a secure, transparent, and hyper-efficient backbone for real-world processes.
Exactly. It's a practical, application-driven approach. It's about steady building, solving real problems, leveraging unique technical advantages. That feels very different from the hype cycles we often see elsewhere.
That's a really strong synthesis. What stands out most to you personally about these developments and this sort of quiet confidence approach IOTA seems to be taking?
What stands out to me is the potential trajectory it suggests. It raises a really important question, I think, for you, the listener, to mull over.
Go on.
If these projects tackling invoice finance, redefining stablecoins for machines, giving physical products digital passports, if these tangible practical steps are genuinely just the beginning, what comes next? What other industries, what other parts of our economy that currently seem totally separate from blockchain or DLT might soon be quietly reshaped by this kind of low-cost, efficient, secure digital infrastructure?
So where else could this foundational tech be applied once the cost barrier is removed?
Think about decentralized energy grids, managing microtransactions between solar panels and consumers. Think about truly portable and secure personal healthcare records, verifiable carbon credit markets, maybe even streamlining complex processes like real estate title transfers. The possibilities really open up when the foundational layer is designed for efficiency and real-world integration like this.
It suggests the impact could be much broader than many people realize, moving beyond the typical crypto narratives.
That's the provocative thought, I think. We might be seeing the early stages of DLT becoming truly embedded, almost invisible infrastructure for a whole range of industries.
A fascinating thought to end on. Well, we hope this deep dive has given you, our listeners, a clear shortcut to understanding how IoT is indeed quietly turning heads with these tangible, real-world solutions that are starting to make a real difference.
Thanks for diving in with us.
Join us next time on The Deep Dive for another exploration into the innovations shaping our world, one concrete step at a time.